There was a wacky study that just came out here. Take a look. Simply an extraordinary study. Researchers gave 7,500 Canadian to homeless people in Vancouver. The result, the program saved money. It helped many of them move into housing faster, which saved the shelter system 8,277 per person. Wacky. Now, I want to open with some caveats because there was drama when this was posted because immediately people start going, "Nah, that's not possible. Homeless are subhuman. There must be some caveats." Here are the caveats. This money was only provided to people who passed a selection process, and the selection process only allowed for people who had been housing unstable or homeless within 2 years or less time, and people who did not have severe addiction or mental health issues. These were people who had light to moderate mental or addiction issues at most and had not been homeless for long. Thereby, they chose people who are most likely to be able to use money given to them in order to find housing faster. I think this is an understandable limit to the study because obviously people are homeless for very, very different reasons, right? There are people who are homeless because they are, they're falling on hard times, and there are people who are homeless because, in addition to them having fallen on hard times, they are deeply mentally unwell, you know? And just giving $7,500 to a person with severe alcoholism or mental health issues is not going to just fix the problem, you know? It doesn't instantly, yeah. Aren't the majority of homeless people temporarily homeless and not addicts or have bad mental health? We can try to Google that. How many homeless people are recently homeless? State of Homelessness 2023 edition. Let's find out. Homelessness has been on the rise, of course. Now let's see. Overall, individuals, people and families chronically homeless. Oh, well, look at that. Of the total number of people experiencing homelessness per year by type, uh, it looks to be about a quarter of them are chronically homeless. By gender, it's more men than women. People who are gender questioning are significantly more likely to be unsheltered, proportionally. Do we have it by, like, duration of homelessness? Subgroup types. Unsheltered individuals, people. What about chronically? No, I don't see it in this specific one. I think it's fair to say that a majority of people who are experiencing homelessness could benefit from the cash grant that was given in this study in the way described by the study. I think that most of the homeless people that you guys see when you go outside, if you live in an American city, in which case you see homeless people, I certainly do. I did in LA, I do in Seattle, I will in any city I go to in the United States because homelessness is endemic here. The majority of them are mentally probably fine, though it'll get worse the longer they're out there. Not to say they can't be quirky, but I think that a lot of people's perceptions of homeless people are skewed heavily by the like crazies. And there are crazies, though I think it's worth noting that a lot of people get crazier the longer they're on the street. And for that reason, the more preventative work is done by providing housing to people, the less of them will become chronically homeless, right? Like every person who is now chronically homeless was at some point in their life recently homeless by nature of causality, because that's how it works, you know? And thereby, logically, I feel, since we know for a fact that there are very strong negative mental health outcomes from being homeless for a wide variety of reasons, in terms of addiction as well, for also obvious reasons, your life sucks. If we do this and we keep doing this, it should do a lot to fix the problem. Now, this is just a start, of course. But the reason why this is so important is because it literally saved money for the Canadian government to just give them the money, because moving them out of the shelter system ended up saving more money over the duration of the study than the amount given. It's literally like a free money machine. So for people who fit in this category of like easier problems to deal with, they're more capable of handling their money, handling their situation. It may literally be a money saver to just give them money. And hey, you know what? You're also improving their life. How crazy is that? If you think about it that way, you're also doing a good thing, if you can believe it. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that people who have severe mental health issues and people with severe addiction should be just thrown to the wayside. No, I think that people who absolutely need constant or at least long-term state supervision should be given it. But in the meantime, if it's possible that 3/4 of homeless people, more or less, could be lifted out of homelessness through something as simple as this, something that costs no money, and in fact saves money, I think that's pretty indicative. Yeah, meanwhile, there are cities in the United States that are trying to ban giving money and food to homeless people. Yeah, the reason why we don't do this, the reason why people don't think to do this is because people are so conditioned to despise and distrust homeless people that they think, oh, you give any homeless person money, they're just going to spend it on alcohol and drugs. The thing is, some will, but usually the ones who are in that bad of a position are not the ones who would be targeted for this kind of assistance. The kind of homeless people who will literally just drink themselves to death if given money, first of all, obviously homeless people spend money on food first and foremost. Okay, we know that for a fact. So the incredibly small minority of homeless people who are so self-destructive that giving them money literally just facilitates their addiction and nothing else, that's such a small portion of the population, and they have to be helped in other ways, sure, but don't let that distract you from the way you can help the vast majority of people who are homeless. It's a huge deal. At first I thought it was a little far-fetched. Too good to be true, Ray said. I went with one of the program representatives to a bank, and we opened up a bank account for me. Even after the money was there, it took a week for it to sink in. Over the next year, the study followed up with recipients periodically, asking how they were spending the money and what was happening in their lives. Because they were participating in a randomized controlled trial, their outcomes were compared to those of a control group, 65 homeless people who didn't receive any cash. Both cash recipients and people in the control group got access to workshops and coaching focusing on developing life skills and plans. Separately, the research team conducted a study asking 1,100 people to predict how recipients of an unconditional $7,500 transfer would spend the cash. They predicted recipients would spend 81% more on temptation goods like alcohol, drugs, or tobacco if they were homeless than if they were not. The results proved that prediction wrong. The recipients of the cash transfers did not increase spending on drugs, tobacco, and alcohol, but did increase spending on food, clothes, and rent, according to self-reports. What's more, they moved into stable housing faster and saved enough money to maintain financial security over the year of follow-up. 1 year of follow-up. Counter to really harmful stereotypes, we saw people make wise financial choices, Claire Williams, the CEO of Foundations for Social Change, told me. The study, though small, offers a counter to the myths that people who become poor get that way because they're bad at rational decision-making and self-control, and are thus intrinsically to blame for their situation, and that these people getting free money will just blow it on frivolous things, or addictive substances. Studies have consistently shown cash transfers don't increase the consumption of temptation goods. They either decrease it or have no effect on it. Which makes sense if you think about it, right? Because if a person is homeless and they feel like their life is completely, why not spend the tiny trickle of money they get from panhandling on drugs, like to just liven up their shitty life? Whereas if they get an infall of cash that can actually change things, now they have a road towards fixing these problems. They have a road to actually improving things. Yeah, the difference is hope. People have to believe there's possibility for them to change. There's a really interesting study about how in the Netherlands, people with, quote, problematic debts end up costing society 100K, even though their actual debt is only 42K on average. Yeah, keeping the social harm done by keeping people in an underclass for financial problems is almost always more expensive than the financial problems themselves, right? It's like a person shoplifts a candy bar and then gets sent to jail for 7 months. And over the course of the 7 months, they end up costing the city $112,000. And then it's like, oh, well, we've done something. Did we fix something? I don't know. Here you go. You're back on the street. Consistently. It was like debtor's prison, where you would have people arrested for not being able to pay their debts, and then they would go to prison where the only thing they could do is rack up more debt and also cost the state more because they're just in there sitting there. It's insane. These decisions that we make with regards to incarceration and homelessness and fiscal policy are born out of nothing but contempt and distrust for the poor. They are a product of capitalist realism and the myth of meritocracy. The idea that we live in a perfectly fair system, so anyone who's gotten a shit end of the stick must not have been dealt unfairness, but are rather just naturally unworthy of good treatment. And therefore, any kindness shown to them will just be bled away. Now, this is, among other things, in my opinion, a deeply unchristlike way of thinking. It's not good. Not good. Not good at all. Christ would not approve. Someone linked this several times while I was talking about this. California program giving $500 no strings attached stipends pays off study finds. Whoa! I can't wait for us to arrive at the 67th study showing that no strings attached cash is actually really beneficial. Gave randomly selected residents $500 per month for 2 years with no strings attached. Measurably improved participants' job prospects, financial stability, and overall well-being, according to a newly released study of the program's first year. It gave 125 people living in neighborhoods at or below Stockton's median household income the unconditional monthly stipend. A study of the period from February 2019 to February 2020, conducted by a team of independent researchers, determined the full-time employment rose among those who had received the guaranteed income, and their financial, physical, and emotional health improved. Remember, this has been proven over and over and over and over and over again. The logic behind a UBI just works. Not only does it work, it saves money. It just works. Well, an overall total social-wide UBI probably wouldn't save money, but it would fix a whole bunch of other social issues. Link to a 2014 article on the cost of homelessness in Central Florida. Yep. Each chronically homeless person in Central Florida costs the community roughly $31,000 a year. That's like the median income at the time. 2014? Like, that's barely below the median income for that time. Like, society is being cost that much just for allowing this person to remain homeless. In contrast, providing the chronically homeless with permanent housing and case managers to supervise them would run about $10,000 per person per year, saving taxpayers millions of dollars during the next decade. Absolutely remarkable. We have known this for a long time. It literally saves money to just give them the housing.